parenthetically, in my own family, my mother was in the partisans in Belarus, but very few Jews were able to resist with guns. But Jews also resisted with paper and pen. They resisted with archives, schools, prayers, smuggling. The struggle to maintain your human dignity when the Nazis are trying to crush you, that's resistance. Now, here in the anthology, we include a wide array of writings composed in ghettos and reflecting the different ways that Jews fought back. So we start with Abba Kovner, his call to arms in 1942. On New Year's Eve in 1942, the leaders of the youth movements in the Vilna Ghetto come together to hear a manifesto written by this 22-year-old poet, a leader of the left-wing Zionist youth movement, Hashomer Hatzair. 2/3 of the Jews of Vilna are already dead. The remaining 20,000 are imprisoned in a tiny ghetto. And in this amazing declaration, Kovner is saying that the murder of Lithuanian Jewry is not just some local event, it's the precursor to the planned destruction of all of European Jewry. And therefore, Jews have to prepare to resist. This is an amazing statement. The first time that a Jew is publicly predicting the final solution 3 weeks before the Wannsee Conference in Berlin. He had no way of knowing this for sure. It was just his instinct. It proved to be correct. Within weeks, the young people that night began to organize the FPO, an organization which prepared for armed resistance in the Vilna Ghetto. And he says Jews have to prepare to resist. As Kovner shows, the backbone of the resistance in the ghettos in occupied Poland were young people in the Jewish youth movements. Years before the war, the youth movements, the Zionist, Bundescommunists, had become like a second family, a home away from home, where young people formed deep relationships and learned to trust each other. In Krakow, a young Jewish woman named Gusta Dawidsohn-Draenger and her husband had been devoted members of the Akiba youth movement, which was not as left-wing as the Hashomer Hatzair. They both worked in the ghetto underground. They published a clandestine newspaper. They were both murdered by the Germans, but as Justyna, which was her clandestine name, as Justyna awaited death, she wrote a journal on toilet paper. And the Posen anthology includes an excerpt from that journal, which describes what she calls the Last Supper in the Krakow ghetto, that last Shabbat where all her friends in the Akiba youth movement are together for the last time. They know it's the last time they'll see each other, but they're gathered around the Shabbat candles, singing, and just soaking in the friendship and the fellowship that they know they'll never have again. If we're talking about Jewish resistance, we can't ignore religious life. And of course, some of the most profound, significant theological responses to the Holocaust came from the Piaseczner Rebbe, Rabbi Kalonymus Kalman Shapira in the Warsaw Ghetto, who perished in the Travniki camp in 1943. And his writings survived because of the secret Oyneg Shabes Archive. And in his sermons, the Piaseczner Rebbe is struggling to explain the unfolding disaster that's engulfing the Jewish people. There are still religious Jews who are saying, especially in 1940, 42, why is this happening to us? Well, because we sinned. And just as God destroyed the first and second temples, he's destroying Polish Jewry because of the sins that we committed. But as time went on, the Piaseczner Rebbe came to see that what was happening now was unprecedented in Jewish history. So in 1942, just weeks before the deportations began to Treblinka, the Piaseczner Rebbe gave a sermon in which he declared that Jews were not dying because of their sins. They were dying because they were soldiers in a war, fighting to defend Hashem, God, fighting to defend the Torah. in a world where the Nazis were trying to create a godless pagan universe. And he offers the examples of Purim and Hanukkah. On Purim, the Jews in ancient Persia were in real danger because they had indeed sinned. But on Hanukkah, the Jews were also in danger, not because they had sinned, but because they were soldiers on the battlefield fighting to protect the Torah against the pagan crusade of the Greeks.